Good morning, everyone. This is Jess Willey with the Oregon Wine Board. Welcome to the third of our series of Profit Planner webinars. This one will focus on the Marketing, Sales, and Portfolio Management Workbook of the Oregon Wine Profit Planner. Just a little housekeeping as we get started. First of all attendees are on mute. And so in order to ask questions, which we encourage you to do, please use the question tool in the taskbar of your GoToWebinar window. We will do our best to answer questions as they come up, but there will also be time at the end for any additional Q&A that you desire. Also, this slideshow and a recording of this webinar will be available to view with colleagues, or if you wanted to revisit anything, it'll be uploaded to our website at industry.oregonwine.org by the end of the day today, and we'll be sending out a link to that so that you can easily access it. Also in that follow-up email, there's going to be a survey about this webinar, but not only about this webinar, also there are a couple questions about the tool itself. We'd really love to get your feedback on this, and it's a very brief, probably about 2 minutes long survey, and so if you would do us the favor of helping us improve our offerings, that would be very much appreciated. So our agenda for today, we'll be giving you an overview of the Profit Planner tool. This will be followed by a tutorial of the Marketing, Sales, and Portfolio Management Workbook presented by Tim Hanai, MW. Tim is going to take you through how to get started, how to save your work, and then show a case study of a small Oregon wine brand, which will allow you to see the plug-and-play nature of this very easy-to-use tool. And then, as I said, we'll wrap up with Q&A at the end. So as a brief overview to the Oregon Wine Profit Planner, a little bit of history. My colleague Bree Boskov, who many of you know, joined the Oregon Wine Board back in early 2017 as our education manager. And along with the education committee, she conducted a needs assessment of the industry. And one of the things that kept coming up was a real desire for a greater understanding of cost of goods in both production and the vineyard, as well as expenses and understanding overall profitability across tasting rooms and all sales channels, and really small producers looking to be able to have a better, more complete picture of their business's financial health and profitability. And so out of that grew the Oregon Wine Profit Planner. Bree and the Education Committee have been working closely with Tim Hanai, who is a wine business educator, to develop 4 unique workbooks within the Profit Planner that are specifically focused on the Oregon wine industry and touch all of the major areas of your businesses. So those include the Vineyard P&L and Cash Flow Workbook, the Winery Cost of Goods Workbook, Tasting Room Profitability Workbook, and today's focus, the Marketing, Sales, and Portfolio Management Workbook. The benefits of this tool for your business is that it will enable vineyard, winery, and sales channel planning that stimulates financial success across your whole business, empowering small Oregon vineyard and winery teams to make better informed business decisions. This tool is available to anybody on your team, so it really gives the opportunity to engage entire teams to increase their profitability through financially responsible management, linking all of those business decisions that are made to your bottom line. This tool is free of charge to anyone in the Oregon wine industry. It's an OWB funded tool, and it's specifically designed for Oregon wine producers. This slide has a quote from Meg Murray, who is the owner of Elevage Consulting, Project M, and Nasty Woman Wine. She's been an early adopter of the Oregon Wine Profit Planner, and she wanted to share her experience with the tool and the benefits it brings to her business. She says the Profit Planner helps pull all the important data inputs together to show quick, digestible information. You can feel confident in making informed decisions and go back to what drives your business forward, making, marketing, and moving your wine. So thank you, Meg, for that. And so what we'll be taking you through today are many of the steps to using the profit planner. So hopefully everybody on the line has requested access already. If you haven't, we are actually approving access in real time right now so that you can follow along. And what you would do is go to the Oregon Wine Industry site at industry.oregonwine.org, hover over the education menu and click Oregon Wine Profit Planner, and you'll see a link to request access there. So for those that have access, Tim will show you how to log in and create a workbook, how to enter your business information, specifically today pertaining to the marketing, sales, and portfolio management. And he'll demonstrate how varying your inputs affect your profits. He'll then show you how to save and share with your team and other business partners, which ultimately better equips all of you to make smarter decisions to positively impact your profitability. So I'll be turning this over to Tim Hanai. As I mentioned, he's a Master of Wine and a business educator who's worked with Cornell University, Sonoma State, and among many others to develop these kinds of tools. And so we've been working closely with Tim to develop a tool that's specific to the Oregon wine industry. So that means that we've been using information that is unique to us, that the OWB has collected through the Vineyard and Winery Census, the Linfield College Salary Survey, and other sources that are specific to Oregon to make sure that this is as relevant and applicable to Oregon wine businesses as possible. So now we're going to pass the presentation over to Tim.
And here we are. All right. Just to confirm, Jessica, you can see my screen and we're all set?
Yep, we can see you.
All right, great. Thanks. Hi, everybody. Welcome, and thank you for joining us. We're really excited about the continuation of the launch of this program. A bit of quick background. Some 30 years ago, I started to teach about wine from a supply chain, value chain approach, and sort of recreating the business decisions combined with quality decisions as a form of critical thinking, looking at balancing out what decisions are made about vineyards and grape qualities and production and barrel aging and packaging all the way through the entire supply chain. And what's very exciting about this is we've discovered there's a critical need in the industry, anything from tasting room managers to winemakers, salespeople, and so forth, to have a easier to use financial tools and also education to support learning how to use these tools and understand finances better. The other thing is that we're introducing this more and more at a college and entry level as well. Linfield College in McMinnville to Washington State, Penn State. We're working with over 7 universities now that are incorporating these into their wine education programs. And not only just for winemaking and enology or viticulture classes, but also for hospitality classes, so people have a better understanding of the financials of what goes into the costs of wine, how to manage marketing and sales and those kind of things. So to access the program, I'm on the Oregon Wine Board site. And when I hover over the Education tab, I can come down to the Wine Profit Planner and click on that. And then if you've not received your credentials and login permissions, you can request access here or hit login. And when you go to login, it's going to bring you to our server sign-in page. And when you sign up, you will use your email address that that you use to sign up for the program, and that will be your username. I'm going in as an admin. And then you'll also receive an auto-generated password. So once you sign up, you'll get a notification you've been accepted, and you should receive an auto-generated password that you might have to check your spam or junk filter. If you know you've been signed up and can't find your password, just simply use the forgot password function. Again, use your email address that you signed up for the program, and it'll immediately send you a new password. So it's pretty simple, and obviously in case you lose your password. When you sign in, this is what you're going to see, and this is called the auto filter. And there's a drop down, and you'll see all of the workbooks that are available to you. And we actually have 6 now, and there will be a couple more added. So we've got a tasting room profitability workbook that we covered on Tuesday. We've got a cost of goods workbook that we covered yesterday, along with the wine pricing calculator. And we'll go over the wine pricing calculator quickly at the end. And then today we're going to be working on the marketing, sales, and portfolio management workbook. So when you sign in, this is what you'll see. You'll want to select new, and it'll bring up a new workbook. One of the most important things you need to know is that the work is saved on our server, not your computer. And to access the workbook, you will need to be able to return to the URL that's uniquely assigned to any of the workbooks that you're making. And you can make and save and create as many workbooks as you like. There's no limitation. Now, the easiest way to get back to a workbook that you're working on is to go ahead and start to enter some of the information. So, excuse me just a second. And obviously I'm got these a little bit back. So this is Chateau Bend. All right, I'm going to put in the date. And what this specific workbook is designed for is to establish costs and margins for a portfolio of products, be able to allocate those products to different sales channels, and then compare what the margin and channel scenarios look like, and then work with your sales team to fill out the numbers, do your forecasting, do your end of the year wrap up in numbers and those kind of things. Okay, so I've got my name and I've got this. I'm going to pretend I'm a 10,000 case winery and put that here. Now, in this number, this is just a reference number for the case production that I'm going to use as a target as I'm filling everything else out. So I'll get back to that. So to save this information so that I can return to it later, you can use your library, bookmark, or favorites function if you like. The simplest way, and we put this at every first page, if I hit Control D, it's going to ask me how I want to bookmark this. And so what I want to do is name this marketing, oops, I did that wrong, hang on a second. So I want to name this marketing and sales workbook, and make sure to, when you're saving these, I like to also add 1129 a date, but you want it to be identified. And then what I've done is I've also, as you see up here, I've got an OWB workbooks folder on my browser toolbar. So I want to actually save this into that folder, and I can tag it and do other things if I want. And then when I'm done, I've now updated this also. So this is where I'm doing my cost of goods workbooks. I can do my financial pricing workbooks. I can do everything else, and they're all pretty easy to find. If you are going to be working on a large number of these workbooks, I highly recommend to learn how to set up a folder and save everything into that folder, okay? So when I close this program out and want to return to it, I have to make sure that I can go back, and I would open the project from here, and it will have saved all my information on the workbook, okay? If you're going to use a separate computer, and maybe you're working on this at work and you want to work on it from home, or you've got a desktop and you want to work on it when you're traveling, you need to create a note with this URL and have that available so that you can use this URL to access the work from another computer. You'd use the same sign-in credentials and whatever, but you would need this to get back to this workbook, okay? So that's how all of that works. And so let's get into the workbook itself right now. And the way that that these are laid out is that we've got different sheets, S1, S2. Each of these are different tabs that we'll go through in developing our pricing, the sales channel allocations, budgets, and so forth. On the front page, there are a couple things. Number one, this is a link to a page at the Oregon Wine Board with a complete list of all the workbooks, instructions for saving and so forth, different resources for great pricing or for various data that can help you in working with your workbooks. And then over time, we'll be also populating it with frequently asked questions. So what I like to do actually is go ahead and open this up. It'll open in a new tab. And then here are the different workbooks. And you can, if you want to revisit the tutorials or share that with somebody, you can go here. It'll be posted and available, okay? So it's easy to work with this open in a separate tab, and just in case you have any questions. Also, if you have any questions about the user's agreement or the terms of service and privacy policy, Oregon Wine Board does not have access to any of your data or any of the inputs for your workbooks. They reside on our server, winebusinesseducation.com and winebizsim.com. So actually, all this data is kept on our servers, and we have a zero tolerance policy of accessing anybody's workbooks, of sharing any information or so on. And you can read the complete policy here. So we value all data that's input, and of course, like any other technology basis, that information is on our servers, okay? All right, so once you put in your name, put in the winery name, put in your reference case production, you're gonna find that a lot of the workbook is already filled out, and we're gonna go back and change some of the key numbers. And as we do, it's gonna update all of these areas of information, your total revenue, gross margin, your marketing and sales budgets, your marketing and sales payroll, tasting room. So over here are key financial metrics. And then over here is how many cases out of our 1,350 that I've got already pre-populated, and how much of each wine is allocated to which sales channel, okay? So we define the sales channel as a route to market that can be direct to consumer via tasting room or wine club, account direct, which is usually in-state for wineries that hold a wholesaler's license and are able to sell wine legally to final licensees for on and off premise restaurants and retail stores and so forth. We also have then a channel that's the wholesale distribution, which is 3-tier system. And then we've also got a category for export. So all this wraps up on the front page. And I'm also going to quickly run to the end page, which is a little bit more detailed P&L and breakdowns of percentage margin by channel and number of cases by channel and those kinds of things. All right. So as we go into this also, keep in mind there's going to be a learning curve, and there's also going to be a curve for finding the information you need to start filling this workbook out. A lot of the preliminary work you might be doing is going to be a lot of what they say in the tech industry, swag, or scientific wild-ass guess. But the collaborative value of this workbook is also so you can sit down with sales and go over their budgets and their projections. You can sit down with production or operations and try to figure out cost of goods for every item that you have and so forth. So the first input page allows you to input up to 20 different individual wines. Now, when you open it up, it'll look like this, but you can simply then put whatever you need into the field. Chardonnay, let's say 2016 or 2017, okay? We would put in the cost of goods. Now, this number should be the cost of finished goods as given by operations or winemaking or from your accountant. And then whatever your established FOB selling price of the winery, this is the price that you would sell the wine to a distributor, or in the case of wine club sales or tasting room sales, one of the best practices is to use the FOB pricing as your transfer price to those outlets. Okay. So the 4 input fields that are necessary here are a wine product, its cost of goods, its ex-seller's price, and the case production. Now we're going to be working on a target, as I put in earlier, of 10,000 cases. So it might be that we've got a smaller amount available this year for this wine. And as I make changes in these fields that affect margin, profit, and my budgets, those are reflected at immediately at the top of every page, sort of as your ongoing guidelines. Okay, so we can go through and input and create new wines. So this could be red blend, Southern Oregon. You would put in whatever you need to do to identify the wine. Oops, spelling is always a bonus. All right, let's say maybe I've got a production cost of $90 on that. Now, also, one of the things that's kind of cool about this, we've got a preliminary retail estimation, so that if you've established $160 FOB using benchmarks of freight, insurance, and taxes, the distributor markups, and then retail markup, this will give you an estimation that this is about $28. Now remember, we've got a complete and very detailed wine pricing calculator that I'll go over at the end, but this just gives you a rough estimate of where you're going to be at certain levels. So if I put this in at $140 and then do that, it'll tell me at $140 FOB, roughly that would equate to a $25 retail price. And if I wanted to put in 1,000 cases of this as an addition, then when I click off of that, it populates these fields and shows me the effect that it has here. So as you're doing your forecasting and planning, you can sit down and run scenarios and see how you're doing in terms of your margin, your profit and loss. Okay. So that's this page, and there's a little down here is how we achieve this field for the estimated retail price. Okay. So next we're going to go into the sales allocation, and it will move everything from the previous page and fill all of this out for us. And so the next step is then to determine what percentage of each wine are you forecasting, or if you're running your end of year numbers or monthly numbers, what percentage is being sold through your tasting room, through your wine club, account direct in-state, if that's something you do, 3-tier US distribution, and any export. So maybe we made this red blend and we've only got 1,000 cases, and we're just going to sell it through our tasting room and then through our wine club. This may be an exclusive item and so forth. If I want to change these names or these numbers, then I have to go back to the portfolio pricing and change it there, because these are auto-populated to make this easy to use. Okay? So now once I've got my products allocated, then I can go to my sales channel report and take a look at how I am doing in terms of each of the channels. And the really good news is this is just wrapping up what you've input on the previous pages. And then it's also giving you your totals down here to take a look at the number of cases, the revenue that it's generating, and the margin contribution for that specific product. And that all shows up down here. So the other thing is that we found that one of the things that you have a capability of doing is if for any reason you open your workbook and you're not able to edit it, this save button up here in the upper left, if this has been saved, then you'll notice that I can't put in my winery name. And it's going to take just a second to populate because I'm on a slow moving connection today. I can save this as a PDF, and it'll just open up a box. You can save it in your downloads or on your desktop, or have a file that you can save it to. You can create a new project. So maybe you want to start again. A very cool function is you you can clone a project. So let's say that I've started this workbook and I want to keep this for reference. I can hit clone. It'll create a copy of this workbook, and then make sure that on your copy that you save it also and bookmark it, and you'll need this URL for different computers. But now you can have a copy that you could save as a forecast or revision or so on and so forth. All right. And then you can also email a copy to somebody, your accountant, or over to production, to each of the salespeople, and ask them then if they can help clarify any numbers, any sales projections, any cost of goods, and stuff like that. All right. We find that once people get into it, it's actually pretty fun to use and engaging. We like to refer to it as a graphics deficient version of Farmville, which is probably a stretch, but I think you'll find it very intuitive and very easy to use. So now, because I've saved this, you notice that I can't click on my name here. So I've got to click back on edit, and that'll put it in the edit mode. Now, a couple of things that you might want to do is I can click on this to keep it in the edit mode, so it'll always open in the edit mode. And then I can also turn on auto save, but anytime you quit your work, it should auto save anyways. So those are just options if you would like. Okay. All right. So once we've looked at our report and kind of where we're going, your gross margin is kind of your bank, if you will. It's a differential between your cost of goods and your FOB selling price. And then one of the areas in sales, marketing and sales budgeting is payroll. And what we have pre-populated are some potential positions for marketing. Any of these can be overridden. If you're you can put names into here, names and position. So you can kind of look at the kind of positions that are available. We also have some base benchmark pricing, the ability to put in the base price, the base salary, do they have benefits and what level are they at? And then that'll give you what that amount is. And then are they on any bonus or incentive plan, so that you can see what their total is and what percent of your total marketing payroll is this person occupying. So if we wanted to add a $45,000 a year, if we wanted to add somebody to IT and social media that would be in the marketing budget, make sure that that's understood. We can give them a starting salary of, let's say, $40,000 a year. They may get a lower benefits level, and then we're going to give them, we're going to give them a 5% incentive if they can increase the search engine optimization. And you'll see it takes care of all the other numbers here, gives me what our marketing payroll is, and then also makes adjustments in net profit and in the budget. Then for sales, we've got it set up for anything from a very simple to a highly complex range of positions and responsibilities. And again, there's a field for outsourcing and consulting, or if you've got other positions that you want to put in, and we have that also in the marketing, up to 3 others, and also outsourcing. Okay, so you can capture all of that information. And then we go into our sales and marketing expense budgets. Yay. We've got this set up with what we call steppers. You'll see this on many of our workbooks. So if we wanted to start stepping up and stepping into our general promotional budget, we can start to see, so you can use this to step up to a known amount. Let's say that we've got a $50,000 budget. We can just simply get it up there, and off we go. And again, it's making changes up here. It's very comprehensive, and also has an other field. You can look at discounts, billbacks, printing collaterals, advertising, social media event, marketing reports, data purchases, donations, all that kind of stuff. All right. And then in the sales budget, we've got incentives and billbacks. Now the difference is sometimes you allocate things to sales, sometimes you allocate things to marketing, and we have the other field in case there's something that's not on here that you would like to allocate. All right. So there we go. And then there's if you know that you've got a certain marketing budget, you can also zero this out completely and just put in $50,000, and maybe that's where you want to start with. All right. And same thing in your sales budget you can do, or you can do a combination of the individual items and plus any lump sum items that you would like to put in. Okay. And once we get to the end of that, we come to the income statement. This is always great to print out and send in, use in your reporting, or as we say, you can save the entire workbook so that when you're having financial meetings, budgeting, and so forth, everybody can have a copy. You can go over it, work together, and prepare your plan. So that's it. That's our and why don't I stop here, Jess, and see if anybody has any questions on this, and then I'll show the pricing planner because it can be used in conjunction with this to do individual pricing workups for product.
Sounds good, Tim. I don't see any questions coming in, but why don't we give people just a minute to use that question function in the GoToWebinar window if you do have questions. And Tim, maybe you want to start getting set up for.
Yeah. So what I'm going to do is save my work. Again, it'll automatically save, but I like to be safe. When I hit save, it's going to bring up the auto filter button. And so I'm going to go to the auto filter. And it's telling me what I already know is it's going very slow. And then I'm going to go to the pricing calculator and hit new. And there we go. This is a little bit shorter and sweeter. Again, I want to put in my name and vintage of the wine name and vintage, my name and the date. The way this calculator works is we're looking at a national retail bottle price workup, an estimate of restaurant pricing, and also it's going to tell us our distributor selling price. So this would be the differential between our FOB and then what a distributor would sell it to retail and restaurant outlets. Okay. Again, we've got a placeholder. So let's say that our target's $29.99, and then you can see that we're already hitting this number. But let's say that we want to make a $40 wine and look at what goes in. So we're going to go in and change a lot of the numbers, but fundamentally, as we step up our FOB, you can get an idea of what that's going to do to the national retail price, all things being equal with what we've already got set. So I can actually step this up until we get to about that $40 price level. All right, we're at 40.03. And then I would want to save this target to 39.99. And then to show you what we have already in the system, if you're going into certain states, if you're going into national distribution, there are certain states that require, hang on just a second, we've got a message coming in. All right, when we're done, we'll cover the question we have received. So you might, if you're doing a state workup for Utah, you might have to put 15% in here because you're going to need a broker, and you're going to need a good broker, and you'll have to negotiate a fee with them. If you're doing national distribution, you may have to accommodate for a couple percent of broker fees for the states that require brokers. If you're shipping less than container load, you may have a relatively high consolidation freight and insurance. Sometimes if it's cross-country on even smaller shipments, you might need to increase that even more. Now, remember that from your FOB price, after the broker fees, everything that you input, these are paid by the distributor typically, and you may participate in helping with the logistics and finding a consolidation point and so forth. But these costs go on to what's called the laid-in cost for the distributor. All right, so if they've got any other additional taxes or duties, we do have the ability to put in certain percentages of state or local taxes. If you want to know what those taxes are, we've got a quick little guide here that you can open up, and this will get you to taxes by state. And there you go. So we try to have as many of these resources available here, and then also on that link that's at every page that gets you to the Oregon resources. We'll have most of these in a couple of places. Okay. Real critical point is going to be how much does the distributor mark it up. So as you can see on line 10 here, the distributor landed or laid-in cost is $266.92. If you're working to establish a new distributor and you're trying to say, hey, we want you to be able to profit, to focus on our products, you can step up the distributor markup. And these things are so invaluable when you're going into meetings, when you're preparing your pitch and your distributor reviews and those kind of things. Now, what we've done here is, because these changes that we've made, notice what it's done to our retail price. So we may then wish to go back and rethink our FOB, and then you could, through discounting or whatever means necessary, or just rethinking your FOB, we can get it back down to the $39.97. But notice that we've dramatically had to reduce our FOB, hence our profitability. Okay. So that gets us through, and this would then provide the distributor to licensee pricing, what they would sell to a restaurant or a retail store. We also have a separate page for export workup, because you'll typically have higher freight costs, can have ridiculously higher duties and taxes. If you're going into China, you get to put 68% in there now. Oops. And which will play havoc on anything that you're doing. And then, of course, so there's additional room for taxes and duties, and then also importer and broker fees, which are very important in export work. Okay, so that's the export page. And then the final workup part is maybe you just got the Wine Spectator #1 wine in the world, or 100 points, or that your product's really taking off in a market. You might have a little bit more leverage with your distributor to adjust their markup down, give you more competitive pricing, or work back to additional profitability on your end. We've got, if you're doing a state workup, some states have sort of automatic discounting. So that's what these are for distributor pricing. If they're going to offer a 5% or 10% discount on the product, and again, you can see we're lowering the price. So this is good when you're trying to establish post-offs and discounts for your products in your marketing calendar. And then retail markup, we've got it set at a 1.33%, 25% margin for retail. If you're working with certain chains, they may be as low as 25%. And again, you can see the price coming down. If you make a sale to Costco, this would be in the 17 or 15% range. And then we've got this for both domestic and export. All right. In restaurant pricing, if they're marking up 3 times, that would give you this pricing. And again, you can go in and change these at different increments. Okay, so that'll give you a good idea there. And again, saving it, recalling it, I would want to have the wine name that this is, the pricing thing. Make sure you've got your URL and you are in business. Okay. So that's how that works. And I'd be glad to go ahead and field the question, Jess, or any other questions that have come in.
Great, Tim. So this, the first question that came in is back on the Marketing, Sales, and Portfolio workbook. If you could pull that up, that might help.
I would be delighted.
All right.
And actually what I'm going to do is I want to go back to my workbook. So I'm going into there, and then voila. That's how I get back to the one that I've already worked on. And give it just a second to populate here.
All right. So the question is that in the S2 tab for portfolio pricing,
yes,
they're having trouble renaming the product name for where you have demo wine. So they're able to change the pricing in case production, but when they save the workbook, demo wine comes back up.
All right, we will look into that and see if we've got they're able to rename it in this.
Yeah, they're able to type it. It sounds like they can type it in, but then when they save it, that field doesn't save. So I don't know if that's a system problem or an individual problem, in which case maybe you or Chris would follow up afterwards if that's only one person.
Yes, absolutely. And if they want to send us an email, we'll also double check at our end. So why don't we do this? And just a word of caution, because we're getting ready to relaunch all these workbooks. I would, if people could go in and play with this now, but hold off on any major work maybe until next Monday, because we're going to be refreshing and reloading all of the workbooks. Your work will never be lost on the workbooks that you have worked on, but we've got a couple minor bugs that we want to get set up. So Monday morning we'll have everything nailed down and ready to go, and we'll try to find out why it's not saving that field for you.
Yeah, just in follow-up to that one, can you try saving on your screen right now and seeing if it sticks or if it refreshes?
Yeah, and my program's running so slow
Okay.
that might be a problem. Our internet, as you see, it's telling us that it's running really slowly.
No problem. We'll follow up with those individuals separately then. We have a few other questions.
Yes.
So the question is, if you've lost your bookmarks, if for some reason your computer fails and you lose your bookmarks, is there any way to get your work back?
If it's a current book, you can go to the auto filter and look for a specific workbook, and it may show up in this field here, okay, for you specifically. All right, and so that's one place to look, or email us, and we'll get you the email back. But make sure that you've saved your name and those kind of things. Otherwise, we won't be able to access it for you. So make sure you always have your name and your winery name. This is one of the little bugs. I've got these fields backwards. But anyways, it should be, the projects are never gone, but if you use the URL, we'll have to get that back to you.
Okay, so it sounds like that's possible to recover work.
Yes.
Okay, the next question is, how often are the resources updated with changes? For example, when tax rates change, how soon will the calculator be updated?
Well, what we do is again, we provide links to the most current information to the best of our knowledge. But for example, with the tax link, you would actually go to that page, or you can go to the TTB page and make sure you're using the most current information. So one of the places that this will be updated is we will have a link in the pricing calculator. We don't even have it up here yet, but we'll have the link to that on the Oregon Wine Board site. We'll update it in the link on our regularly, and you input the correct amount. So if you think there's any question, you can double check that data.
Great. And the last question we have currently in is, within the wine pricing calculator workbook,
Yes.
What is the purpose of the Recalculate function? Is it and the question continues, is it basically to repopulate the final outcomes if they don't automatically?
You should never need to use it. So
it should always recalculate automatically, but
yes,
if you want to,
as soon as you're inputting. So if I go in, if I make a change to a field on any of these, so example, if I change my cost of goods for the demo wine down, and as soon as I click off of that, if you look up here, it updates automatically. So it's actually calculating on the fly. That's just a button that they have that's part of the toolbar.
Okay. I don't see any other questions coming in, so I'm going to take back the slides. Tim, thank you very much.
You are so welcome. Thank you, everybody. I hope you enjoyed it.
All right, Tim, I'm going to mute you. So just to wrap up, as a reminder, I assume that everybody on the line at this point has requested access, but if you want to share this with any of your colleagues, this is a reminder of how they can request access. So they can go to the industry.oregonwine.org site, hover over education, select the Oregon Wine Profit Planner, and then there's that link to request access. And this is also the page that you can go back to log into the tool using the red login button. Once you've been granted access, use that login button and use the email address that you registered with and the password that would be provided via email to you when you request access. And you can log in, and then you can also change that password once you log into the system so that it's something more memorable to you. And then select the workbook you want to use from the drop-down menu. We've already hosted 2 webinars this week. One was on tasting room profitability, and the other one was on your winery cost of goods. And those webinars are already up on our website. So if you wanted to delve into those, the recordings are available for those on the resources page, tutorials and resources, under the tutorials menu for each of those. Also on that page, we're putting links to other resources such as past symposium presentations and other reports that might be helpful as you're thinking through these various parts of your business planning. So we'll continue to build those out as more resources become available. And then finally, what's coming up next? So we have our 4th in our series of 4 webinars tomorrow, and this one will be covering the Vineyard P&L and Cash Flow Workbook. As a reminder, I hope that everybody has already registered for the Oregon Wine Symposium coming up in February. It's a little bit earlier this year on the 12th and 13th. And so the early bird pricing is available until January 15th. If you haven't already registered, do so by Jan 15th for your best pricing. There will be a couple of seminars at the symposium that continue to focus on these topics. So one of them is called The Bottom Line, How Understanding COGS Can Increase Your Profitability. And then there's a direct-to-consumer metrics focused one that will be presented by Wise Academy. Since Wise Academy is coming to Portland for Symposium, and this may be relevant to you, or if not, please share with your direct-to-consumer colleagues. We're hosting 2 workshops, one on the Monday before Symposium, one on the Thursday afterwards, that are full-day intensives with the Wise Academy. We're offering these at $55, and normally they offer them for $700 per registrant. But the OWB is subsidizing these because we just find that D2C and tasting room training is so in demand from folks in our industry, given the importance of that channel. So take advantage of that time that you're coming up to Portland or your tasting room manager is, and enroll in these. We'll be sending the links to register for all of these later today, along with the link to the webinar recording. And I will ask one more time, we're going to send a survey link through. Please do take 2 minutes and just let us know what you thought about this webinar and what your thoughts are on the tool. And with that, I think that's the end of it, unless we have any other questions that have come in. Nope. All right. Thank you, everybody, for your time this morning, and have a great day.